Tales from afar, stories to burn, dodgy old geezers and lessons to learn. From Arthur to Jerry, the scamps and the graft, they're spilling the beans and having a laugh. Mark, Annie and Pete, they're talking minor for you. Old school charm and a pint or two. So press play now, don't miss a treat. You'll love the stories, put it on the slate. Tales galore and so much more. So listen now with her indoors.
Hello there, I'm Pete.
I'm Andy.
And I'm Mark.
Hello and welcome back to Minder on the Slate. We've gone back to the very beginning of Minder and we've been watching a new episode each week. So it's a landmark day for us as we've reached the final episode of Series 1. So, what are we talking about today, Pete?
Lots of things, Andy, but for now, we are discussing episode 11, You Gotta Have Friends.
This episode was first broadcast on the 21st of January 1980, and it was written by Leon Griffiths and directed by Ian Twint.
Joining George and Dennis this week, we have amongst others David Buck, Deborah Grant, and George Baker as Bobby Altman. So, Pete, for the 11th and final time this series, tell us about today's episode.
Well, Andy, in this episode, after a night on the town, an old friend called Billy asks Arthur for a lift. As Arthur is, to use his own term, boozed, he gets Terry to do it instead. Terry doesn't want to know the ins and outs of why he's given this man a lift. But when the local old Bill and gangster Bobby Altman come calling the next day, Terry and Arthur soon realise they are accessories to a dodgy deal and up to their ears in trouble.
So, ears or eyes, could be either, couldn't it?
Yes.
So we're at episode 11. This has been quite a journey, hasn't it, so far?
Any reflections, gents?
Well, I
I
think...
just think
I think
how different all the episodes are, and this is a prime example. I think this is as dark as or as gritty as it gets. I think for Minder, it's quite similar to episode 1 in its sort of direction and sort of more drama and crime rather than laughs. It's a darker episode, very, very gritty and different. But I think there are certain fans of Minder who really, really like this style of episode. And I think there's sort of few camps, different camps, and this certainly appeals to the ones who like it more like the Sweeney, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was thinking it is very like episode 1 to a certain extent, isn't it? And do you think, like, you sometimes get people always say, series 1 was a lot darker and a lot grittier and stuff. And it's not really every episode, is it? It's the first and last one. And you wonder whether it's maybe those two stick in people's memories because they're the first and last one. That's the impression it gives people. But yeah, I agree with you. It is a lot darker, isn't it, this one?
They bookend series 1, don't they?
Yeah, very.
And we'll get into it, but clearly, as per episode 1, a lot of time and energy and money has gone into this episode. I would probably say more than some of the other episodes. I mean, we've got stunts, we've got set pieces. I mean,
Music.
And we've got some amazing cinematography and some really clever shots and stuff like that. So I think they really took the time with this episode. And I'm really looking forward to. Well, I messaged you all earlier saying I'm beyond excited to discuss this one. But when we talked about doing this, it seemed gargantuan, to quote Half Readers in Pet. Well, we're one series down now. We're 11. We're nearly 11 episodes down. I mean, that's well done us. Well done, yous.
Yeah, well done.
If we've done one series, we've got to do another series. So,
and I think the enthusiasm between the three of us is right up there. I think we're more enthusiastic now than when we started, aren't we? I mean, we were all kind of keen to do it, but I think as every week, you kind of get more and more excited. Like, this is going to be a good one. This is going to be.
It's like there's a reason, there's a specific reason to watch Minder, isn't there? It's a very specific reason. And sometimes life gets in the way and you can't watch Minder, or you just don't. Whereas this, now we have an actual job in watching Minder. So it's perfect. It's a great excuse. And
Yeah,
really, you've got to watch it
agree.
more than once. And then you've got to make notes and you've got to look up the things that have happened around it. And yeah, this thing, I love it. I think it's, whether anyone else likes it, I don't really care now. I think I just,
And the other thing, just quickly, is you get into, you say you do your research and stuff, and I had a night on Saturday where my wife was away, so I spent some time.
Where's this going?
Yeah, more research. We'll get into it. We'll get into it later. But you get into you go down rabbit holes of things, and I found some things out at the weekend that I never knew about Minder and people in Minder. So it's a great excuse to do some research and go down rabbit holes. And people like it when we go down rabbit holes.
It's the feedback, Andy.
Here's the feedback.
The man and woman on the street has spoken, and I
They
won't quote Sid Vicious on this one. I think you know the quote. And I don't agree with him. So we basically have been given license to go down as many rabbit holes as possible. So I can't speak for yous, but I intend to burrow away today with lots of insane and inane facts and trivia.
Okay. So
One last thing before we start. I think a reflection of mine is you really get what I've learned, and I should have known this, and I probably did know this, but you get out what you put in, and just quickly cramming the episode whilst doing other things, on the night that we recorded, and not quite watching it, and then leaving the research to use and stuff like that. That hasn't worked. It has worked in terms of views have been fantastic, but it hasn't worked. I've realised that just kind of phoning it in doesn't work. And I'm really, certainly in the last second half of this series, I'm all in. And one last thing, I remembered earlier, and this is a little bit tragic, what you said, Mark, like now we've got an excuse to watch Minder because, life gets in the way. I started a blog probably less than 10 years ago. It's probably out there somewhere. And I did a whole spiel. This is a blog. I'm going to watch every single episode of Minder and write up my thoughts. Can you guess how many episodes I got to?
2.
one.
I didn't even do the first one. So I'm very grateful that, because I wanted to do this proper assessment, proper deep dive into every episode. So chuffed to bits that we're doing this. So thank you, chaps. And yes, let's crack on with the episode. Where does it start?
Yeah, let's the burrow in begin. It begins with Arthur coming back after a night out, and he's in a taxi and he's getting out of the taxi.
And one of the great things George Cole does well is act drunk. He is magnificent in it.
Comedy drunk, I would say.
Comedy drunk, yeah, not a vicious drunk.
Like comedy Arab. We had comedy Arab earlier in the series. The comedy drunk. I think he's playing a comedy drunk, isn't he?
Yeah, he's not gonna get violent. He's very much a man. He does it for laughs, and it carries on to the Ray Daly years, doesn't it? As well. Then when he's especially that one with the ventriloquist doll from series 9 or 10. And that's a great comedy drunk. And
Yes.
and this is a good example of it. He's a little bit stumbling, a little bit slurry, and just he comes out with lovely little lines. So he comes out of the taxi, pays the taxi man, and then there's some shouts of like Arthur coming from the bushes, and he's trying to find, and then suddenly his friend comes out and he's like, Billy, lurking, and it's just a lovely turn of phrase. And the way he acts throughout that scene is, I think, it's a great start to the episode.
Okay, yeah. First rabbit hole, if you're ready. The taxi. Did you recognise the taxi?
The car or the driver?
The car.
Because I wanted to talk about the driver.
So the car is the car that Terry repossesses off Graham Stark.
Wow.
So there's your first rabbit hole. Anyway, carry on.
Well, I'm assuming both of you chaps are familiar with the actor who plays the cab driver.
No, I didn't clock him.
Only that I've seen it mentioned. I didn't recognise him when I first watched it, but then I've seen it online about stuff that he's been in.
Did you not watch Desmond's?
A little
Odds
bit.
and ends, yeah.
So he was one of the regulars in Desmond's. He's also in Local Hero. He's sadly no longer with us, which I didn't realise. But
Was he in Local Hero?
He's the priest.
Okay.
Yeah, or the sort of the priest, or the missionary, or whatever his proper
Yeah.
title is. Yeah, he's definitely in that. So yes, and a bit of good business from Arthur mugs him off about going the long way around,
Yeah,
and then, like you say, Billy's lurking in the bushes, and he's after a favour. He needs a lift.
yeah, and he's like, I'm boozed.
yeah.
I love that. I'm boozed.
He's been out with the chaps from the lodge, so
The lodge, yeah.
we've learned some Arthur's a mason.
Yeah. And he mentions it a bit later as well, doesn't he?
Yes.
In the police station. Yeah.
So needless to say, so when Arthur gets out the taxi, is he going to Terry's in any case? Because he's boozed up.
No, I think he's going.
Or
No,
do they
because-
then go out to Terry's?
Yeah. It's his own house, isn't it? Because Terry goes there later as well, doesn't he?
Yeah, he goes to look for him later in the episode. But yeah, initially he's just going home. He finds Billy in the bushes. Billy needs a lift, and obviously Arthur can't do it because he's absolutely steaming. So he suggests that his friend Terry will get him home, or get him wherever he needs to go. So we cut to Mr. McCann's flat, and as per, he is in bed with a blonde Doris.
Yeah. And she says, was it like, oh, I think it's really good that you do yoga.
Yeah, he
And he's
didn't
like-
he didn't look convinced, did he?
Yeah, he's like, yeah.
Has he been spinning a yarn? Because he
But he says it's
taken
taken 3 hours.
Yeah. So he's pulled out everything out of the book.
I'll have
he's
to try
flipping
that
it.
one.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got yoga practice later
Yeah.
on.
So he's obviously gone through that, yeah. And then she goes, have you got lodgers? And in the background, you can hear, Terry. Terry. He's like, I'm asleep. Terry. And so,
And
yeah.
this
he's-
is Valerie that he's in bed with, and Valerie doesn't take kindly to the interruption from Arthur and Billy Gilpin, and she storms out while Terry is trying to get Arthur to leave.
Yeah, and he says, oh, what you come as, doesn't he? And he's like, oh, has he got his kung fu gear on? Because he's got a...
Is that a kimono, isn't it?
Yeah, he's got a... Well, he's got
Is that the first time we've seen that?
Yeah, because normally he's got a blue dressing gown, hasn't he? But yeah, he's got his kung fu gear on, and maybe if
Where did he get a kimono from?
Oh, no idea.
It looks straight out of Derek Trotter's wardrobe, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah, it really does. And I wonder, as per your and Andy's theories, I wonder if this is a little bit of a detail that Mr. Sullivan swiped. Because you're totally right.
yeah, no, definitely. And then so they then arrange for Terry to take Billy away, and Terry doesn't really want to know, does he, about what Billy's been up to. He's got a bruised face, isn't he? He's got a bruise on his face, and he's got a dodgy leg.
Yeah, and he doesn't know Billy Gilpin, does he? I think he probably knows of him, but he doesn't know him. So they've not
No, I
met
mean,
before.
Arthur says you remember Billy, don't you?
I think
and
it says you know Billy, as in you've heard of him. I don't get the impression that they've ever really met before.
And later
and
on, he
obviously
he says he hasn't met him before, doesn't he?
Yeah, in the police station, yeah.
But yeah, on the drive, so they're driving down to Hailing Island, and Billy obviously wants to chat a little bit, but Terry's not really interested in his sort of not giving him much to chat about. So they end up, as is often repeated in this episode, the use of the term friends or pals. Every scene they would try and get in that phrase, and then they mention a song by Bette Midler. And who is it written by? It's written by
Old Klingman and Linnard.
Klingman and
yes, which I was unaware of, but I did listen to it earlier today. It's fairly forgettable.
It was reused in Shrek, wasn't it? And I think it's quite famous from being in Shrek. I think the donkey sings it in Shrek.
Probably better than Bette Midler.
But it's a weird one. Yeah, it's a weird one though, isn't it? Because I looked up Klingman and Linnart. They're not particularly famous. They didn't seem to write any other famous songs. I mean, that one...
Sorry,
Go on.
mate, go on.
No, I was going to say that one was a hit in America. It wasn't a hit in this country, I don't think. So it wouldn't have been a very well-known song. So it seems a strange, especially when you could have gone for the Carol King one, which would have been a bit better known, wouldn't it?
I think it's an uneasy scene in an overall kind of uneasy episode. It's almost to the point that he's chatting sort of gibberish, really. Terry's being mean and moody, saying like, I don't want to know. But like you say, like, to come out with those references and obviously one of the things I imagine we're going to get to is the use of mean and moody incidental music throughout.
Yeah.
And it started at this. And then you see, I mean, we're not really used to seeing the sea in Minder, but then they get to Healing Island. Is that where Confessions from a Holiday Camp was filmed?
I think it could well be Hailing Island, yeah.
So I didn't realise that's where they were going. It's just now that you mentioned it.
And I'm not sure it's mentioned in the programme, is it?
No.
Oh, right. But that's where it is.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
where
I
it
think
is, yeah. According to minder.org, and there is very clear photographic evidence that it is there. I did actually go to Hailing Island 2 years ago, I think. If I'd known that was the filming point for episode 11 of series 1, I've definitely saw that building as well. So I would have definitely taken more notice of it when I was there.
Have
They've
you
got
saw that building, did you?
Yeah.
That's still
Yeah.
there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
A friend of ours who was linked to the pod has some guilty tales to tell about
Okay.
some unauthorized location spotting he did on Hailing Island, but I can't say any more than that. I've said too much. I think laws were possibly broken. So, yes, so he drops him off and Terry says, you know, have you not got how are you going to check in with no travel bag? And he says, does he say some friends have dropped some stuff off for me or something like that?
I think he says that he because he's got a friend, and because they keep on mentioning friends and pals, don't they? And I think he just basically says he's got a friend, so it's not going to be an issue. Whoever owns the hotel, he's got a friend. The other thing we should probably mention is in the car, he's also suggesting that he's on pills for depression and stuff, doesn't he? Which sets up what's to come. So
Yeah.
he does mention that, doesn't he? Yeah.
There's aspects of the plot line that I certainly around Billy and what he's up to and who's in the equation, including somebody we don't even see, but is quite pivotal to the plot. There's aspects of it I found it a little bit confusing at times.
Well, it's probably worth
But I think-
referencing this now in terms of rabbit holes, because this is, I say, there was a guy on minder.org. I was going through some of the comments, but also it was someone referenced it on YouTube as well. That the plot is directly lifted from The Long Goodbye by Raymond Chandler, and the film was directed by Robert Altman. So the film was in 1974. Now the main villain in Minder for this episode is called Robert Altman, or Bobby Altman.
Bobby Altman,
So it's,
yeah.
Yeah, so it's also they've lifted the plot exactly from the film, and then they've called the main villain the director of the movie. So there's a definite link there. It's a definite little nod from Leon Griffiths to the movie and maybe Raymond Chandler as well.
Have you seen the movie?
I haven't. No.
So this is what I was talking about, what I was up to on Saturday night. So I watched it. And it's a very strange film, but it's very good. You definitely should watch it. You'd both enjoy it, but it is bizarre how it is basically. I mean, we're working our way through the plot of this, but we could be working our way through the plot of The Long Goodbye as well, because there's even little bits that are really weird. Like he goes to see the sort of the female protagonist, and she's got a dog that barks, and even little bits like there's a scene where he gets arrested and goes to the prison. There's a scene with a cellmate on the bed. It's virtually identical.
Isn't it?
But it's not just the same, overall story. There's little bits that are direct. The only thing is it isn't exactly the same so it veers off and it ends differently. And there's a character played by Sterling Hayden who isn't in this version, and it's a bit different about who's doing what to who and blah blah blah. But the money in the bag is all the same, and the first ending is kind of the same. So it's very strange. I thought, Pete, when we were talking about, you had various things, and we wanted to go down to. I thought you knew this film, and
No, totally. I know of the film. It's Elliot Gould.
yeah,
I think it's on one of the streaming channels at the minute, and I've
on
never
Prime.
Prime. So yeah, no, I've never seen it.
It's
So this is
odd.
news to me.
Yeah, it's very odd. It's an odd film.
Okay.
Like the scene where he gets interviewed in the police station.
Yeah.
He's had his fingerprints taken with the black ink, and then while he's been interviewed by the policeman, he's just rubbing the ink all over his
right.
face.
Wow.
It's really strange. It's an odd little film, and he's obsessed with his cat goes missing at the beginning, and most of the film he's made like the whole sort of murder mystery things going on around him, and he's more concerned about his cat throughout. Which, as you know, I'm a cat lover, and my cat often appears in this show. But yeah, it is an odd film, but Liam Griffiths has clearly seen it.
It is, as we said towards the beginning, it's a very cinematic episode.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
this is all kind of making sense, and I'm just working through it in my head. But this is one of the most, certainly from this series, this is one of the most purposely, not contrived as in like, it's definitely, there's certain shots and stuff like that which are done very specifically and purposely to achieve that noirish effect. So this is fascinating and yeah, excellent. So that's
I
what
think
you're doing on a Saturday night.
yes, yeah. And then I think we could literally we could all go off and watch it again, and then start recording again and do a long goodbye podcast and compare them both, because it is quite fascinating. It really stuck with me, the long goodbye, after I watched it on Saturday night. It's
Okay.
quite memorable. It's quite memorable, yeah.
One of the
I
other
feel-
things I heard was that this was one of the first. I don't know how true this is, but this is one of the first scripts or one of the first ideas for a plot line for this series, for series 1. Even though it's episode 11, it was one of the first written, if not the first.
Well, it couldn't have been hard. He nicked it off someone else.
Yeah, I tell you what, I've got a good idea for a series.
Yeah, Leon, have you got any ideas kicking about? Give me a couple of hours.
I've just been on holiday in America. I've been listening to Bette Midler and watching Robert Altman films.
Yeah, but it all makes, like I said, that slightly unsettling scene in the car when he's giving Billy Gilpin a lift. It is a bit off kilter. The whole scene is, I think the whole episode is, and it makes sense because, like you've described, Andy, I know that all I know about Robert Altman is that he was not necessarily conventional in terms of his storytelling, and it sounds like the Long Goodbyes sort of no exception to that. So yeah, makes perfect sense.
Yeah, because when you think of like Raymond Chandler, you're kind of thinking Humphrey Bogart and that kind of thing, aren't you? And it's nothing like that. It's very odd, but good odd.
Puts my bread references and Desmond's references in the shade. Use of taking things up a notch intellectually.
Anyway, let's get back to it.
So back to the plot.
Yeah, so
Terry's dropped off Billy at the hailing island, and he's back home now. And he walks into his flat, and who is there but local Plod waiting for him?
Local Plod, not the Plod we come to know and love, but local Plod. And he thinks they've broken in, doesn't he? But then he said, "Oh no, your associate let us in." And then Arthur comes out wrapped in a blanket and says, "I was a kid." And he's obviously accidentally let him in, which is.
And he looks absolutely shocking, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
But then there's a close up of him. I think he looks quite young, like George Cole. I look at it on the screen now. He looks quite. He looks shocking. His hair's everywhere. He's got a blanket on, half dressed. But his face actually looks quite young. Obviously, he was only 52 at this stage as well.
That's right.
So, we are now. Other than you, Pete.
Did you clock the cop who does the talking? Did he ring any bells?
No, I think it was virtually the only actor in this I didn't look up as well.
You
Go on.
You chaps disappoint me. He was the main businessman in Murphy's Mob.
Wow.
Yes, I did. Yes.
And he had a funny name, which I'm trying to find now. I'll find it.
I did look him up. Yeah.
and I think he like owns the football team, or he's the main sort of financier. Rasputin Jones, he's called. I mean, he was in 52 episodes of Murphy's Mob, so he was
I did remember him.
solidly part of the fixture and fittings on that one. The other guy, I did look him up, the fellow who doesn't do any talking. And I might be wrong, but I think he lived to like 98. Like I say, you've got Robert Altman. This is what you get from me.
Yeah.
You know, extras who lived for a long time. So he's down the cop shop, and it's not Chisholm and it's not Rycott.
No.
No, yeah, we've got another place. I've forgotten his name now. But yeah, and he's pretty good, isn't he? But I say there's a level of disappointment there. The fact, I mean, obviously, if you were watching this in the early 1980s, you wouldn't be bothered that it wasn't Chisholm or Rycott because they've only had fleeting appearances so far.
Yeah.
But again, when you're looking back on it, you go, I wish it was Chisholm or Rycott or Jones.
I think
I
think the guy does a good job. I think he's a bit more of a cop, isn't he, rather than a comedy cop.
There's menace there, isn't there?
Yeah, and he's laying it out, and he's saying to Terry that if something goes on in my manner, like I either get the person who did it or the person who helped him get away. And when you hear that, you kind of think, oh, actually, yeah, he has got a point. And it comes like Terry realizes that as well, doesn't he? Because he says if someone steals a bag of jewels and then you drive them, help them get away, is that a crime? And he's like,
yeah, but it's almost like saying that if you go and get a taxi after you've just done a blag, that the taxi driver's getting done for it as well, isn't it? I thought it was a bit of a stretch. Yeah, if you're part of the getaway gang and you're part of the crew, then fair enough. But if you're just some bloke who's driven someone somewhere without knowing anything about it, I thought it was harsh.
But as far as the cop, like Terry's got form, and they found out that he's driven this guy away after he's disappeared with whatever he's supposedly disappeared with. He doesn't really say, does it? We don't really know at this stage.
But he's just been done for attempted murder, isn't he? Because he's had fights. Yeah, it's nothing about cash at this stage. This is they're after someone from attempted murder because Lord, I've forgotten his name now. Lord somebody.
Lingrave.
Yeah, Lord Lingrave is in hospital and fighting for his life after a fight with Billy Gilpin. So again, you don't have a getaway driver for a fight, do you? But I think if you're the policeman, you're using all the tools you've got in your toolbox to bring the bloke down.
Yeah. So
I've seen him recently. He's a recurring character in The Chinese Detective, the policeman, and he's a bent policeman in The Chinese Detective who got the Chinese detective's dad sent to prison for things he hadn't done, and it's a bit of an arc in The Chinese Detective that you'd eventually, spoiler alert, he eventually gets his comeuppance. So he could play nasty coppers, and he's not as overtly threatening in this, but there is menace. Like with the comedy coppers that we know and love, you kind of always feel, well, Arthur and or Terry will do something to get them out of it and get the upper hand on them. But Terry doesn't really fancy his chances with this guy. He means business.
And he gets put in a cell, so he has to spend before he gets put in a cell, and he's got a cellmate who he doesn't trust, and that cellmate is
Roy Kinnear.
Yeah.
Hey.
Hey.
I think the inclusion of Roy Kinnear is we've said in previous episodes how they didn't skimp on supporting artists, like quite big names. And I know work was work and stuff like that, but Roy Kinnear was a regular in George and Mildred, which I think was probably either just still ongoing at this point, as well as lots and lots of other things. So bit of a coup getting him in, and for just one scene, and not a hugely significant scene actually.
Yeah, I mean he is good. He does the way he jumps on the bed at the end, which is really funny.
That is it's slightly odd though, isn't it?
Yeah,
it
but
is,
he's
and it is funny, but it's almost like he's given. It's almost like he's been. Well, so the assumption is that he's going to inform on. He's going to pretend to be Terry's mate, get the info, and feed it back to the copper. So Terry immediately doesn't trust him. So that's the underlying sort of the way the scene is played. And then when Terry's clearly not going to tell him anything, he just sort of jumps on the bed face down at the end in a
yeah,
real comedy collapse. So it is, and I remember being a big fan of Roy Kinnear around that everything he appeared in at that time.
yeah, yeah,
Is it Cowboys would have been on at the
yeah.
time as
Cowboys,
well?
yeah, that would have been on the time.
Yeah, and
So,
so I was a big fan of his, and he's a good comedy value, isn't he?
so there's a possible link to why he was in this in such a small part. Is he was in the late '60s? He was in a program called A Slight Case Of. Have you heard about this?
No.
And he plays a seedy sort of incompetent private detective, and I think it was 6 episodes. I think I've just got it up here. John Pertwee was in it. John Inman was in it. Gretchen Franklin, Kenneth Connor, lots of people like that. Melvin Hayes, everyone, Alfie Bass. But anyway, do you know? We said we could go down rabbit holes, but it was written. It was written by Leon Griffiths.
I like it.
So, and I think it's available. I think some of them, at least some of them, have survived and are on YouTube. So I haven't got around to watching it, but that might be how he came in, and maybe it was like they might be pally and you want to come down and do this bit.
Some top rabbit holing there, Andy.
Thank you, thank you. I thank you.
Did you chaps notice the echo, especially when Roy Kinnear's speaking? So I don't know if it was in a proper old cell or something, but the echo is, especially when he speaks, and he must have had like one of these rich theatrical sort of, beer-soaked voices and cig-soaked voices. But yeah, there's a proper echo that I say there must have been in a cell or an old brick building or something when they filmed this.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, didn't think of that, but yeah, you're probably right. Yeah,
That's
so
amazing the things you notice,
yeah,
when you so
yeah, when you pay attention.
absolutely, yes.
I mean, I'd have loads of things to say if we'd done this podcast about The Long Goodbye. I'm well up on that.
Well, it's worth just what's the word? What's the last episode of Minder called?
What, of all time?
It's The Long Goodbye, isn't it? It's something like
It's
The Long Goodbye.
It's the Long Good Thursday, which is obviously a slight take on the Long Good Friday,
Yeah.
but nonetheless, it all kind of in the sort of what's the word I'm looking for? In the ether, in the sort of mysticism of Minder, it all just comes together in one big circle.
There you
So
go.
anyway, on that deep note, skip forward to the beach.
Yes, and Billy's coat is found, and
Billy's
so
coat.
the assumption is Billy has committed suicide, has left his clothes on the beach, has met his maker, and therefore everyone will be in the clear. All trail of his crimes will have gone.
Yeah.
Was the MP who did this faked his own death? How when was that? Do you think was that about mid-70s?
I guess you got Reggie Perrin as well, which would have been around the same time.
Yeah, you don't really see it in TV programs these days, do you? People
No.
faking suicide by leaving the clothes on a beach. So it was,
There was a canoe bloke though, wasn't there?
be an episode of Minder, bloody hell.
It could actually, couldn't it?
But yeah, you're right. Forgot about the canoe bloke. So
But it was
yes,
it was very 1970s, wasn't it? It was also based on the politician. Was it John?
Yes,
What was his name?
something house.
Yeah, not
Well,
Shorthouse.
yeah,
This is
Roundhouse. Okay,
but it was before you were
So,
born, Pete, and we were just babes in arms, so we can't be expected to remember it. But
No.
yeah.
Apologies. So Terry's let out Andy, isn't he?
Yes, and there's a scene of Terry and Arthur walking down the street after leaving the police station, and Arthur's in his full DJ and they're having a chat, and it's quite interesting because in the background you can see all the people watching, can't you? Watching it
It's
being filmed.
remarkable. Yeah, it's
They're just standing there,
fantastic.
standing there
And so
watching.
I didn't notice it on first viewing because obviously of your focus is on Arthur and Terry. But yeah, if you watch it again, and it's a scene I've got on now, and there's just 8 people just standing and watching the filming going on, all with a look of absolute wonder in their eyes and sort of like smiling, almost pointing to say, "Oh, look, there's something going on over
Yeah.
there." And yeah, it's
Do you
quite a
think?
nice moment. If though you'd argue it should be reshot, but
Yeah. Do you think they ad libbed the line about what he's wearing? Because he says like, "I'm wearing," and then Terry's like, "You could have just been to see your tailor." But I wonder whether that was kind of thrown in at the last minute because they realised everyone was looking, and so they made it a part of it. Like everyone's
Yeah.
looking because he's dressed like that, rather than they're filming a TV show.
Yeah. Good thinking. Good thinking.
But it's
Um,
just a guess. I don't know.
I think this is one of, we've talked about it being a very cinematic episode. I think this shot's really iconic, actually. I think we've got peak, and I'm talking style wise and clothes wise, we've got peak Terry McCann uh, in dark blue wears and slightly flared jeans. And then by contrast, we've got Arthur all done up in his it just works. It really, there's a few shots like that, could be, we'll talk about the director later, but this is a stretch. It's a reach, but go with it. There's a little touch of sort of Midnight Cowboy, and those two walking along. And I'm not saying that was the reference, but I definitely think they were going for something, let's say, cinematic. And those two walking along. I mean, thank God he isn't wearing his beige uniform, his beige, 3-piece suit of jeans, jumper, and jacket. It just looks fantastic. And there's another shot later on which I'll make reference to. Sorry, just one last thing. You mentioned about the people in the background watching them filming. Have you noticed that in the credits when they're at the car lot? Somebody hanging out the one of the windows in
Really?
the back, watching them filming.
no.
Yeah, one to look for.
Yeah, because there's a scene later when they go to Lady Ingraves when they pull up. There's someone leaning right out the window.
Oh, is
watching.
there? I missed that
Yeah.
one. I missed that
Yeah.
one. But all these, and Mark should, Mark's watched this 6 times, so he, in the last week,
But so
so
I've
he
just,
should have.
just got it on now. If you ignore some of the cars that drive past, but that bit when they're on the street, as you're saying, Pete, it is it could almost be New York 1970s, because just one long street, and it just the way it's shot and the way it's done. You could say it's out of Mean Streets or something like that.
And so this is Ian Toynton's first. It's his first director.
Yeah.
And I'm right in thinking he does 5 or 6 more.
I think he
quite
did
a few.
8 in total. I think.
He gets a thumbs up from me.
Yeah, and he's I think he was a producer as well, wasn't he? And all the way through the Ray Daly years, and he's a top minder man through and through, isn't he?
Yeah, he's on as a producer, associate producer, and for well over 80 episodes in total, I think, when I was flicking through.
So he's top minder man, yeah.
I wonder if he was trying to, your first day at school when you're trying to make a really good impression, I wonder if he really pushed the boat out so that they'd let him do it again,
Yeah.
So
there is one bit of direction I'm really not happy with, though. It might be the acting, but I'm blaming him. But we'll come to that. It's not that far away now. So when we get there, I'll point that bit out. And
So they get in a taxi and they go back to Terry's flat, don't they? And now again, there's someone waiting for him. This time, Brian Hall and forgotten the other chap's name.
Gary Whelan.
He's a professional,
Gary Whelan, yeah.
Professional TV copper, really, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, but for playing against type, he's playing a heavy in this one.
Yes. But
along with Brian Hall. Yeah. But I suppose Brian Hall always typically played a TV heavy, didn't he? Obviously, most famous as the chef in Fawlty Towers, which wasn't the heaviest character in the world, but his more common roles were, more playing a bit of a hard nut.
So,
can we just take a moment to discuss these two gents, if that's okay?
Yeah.
So, is it Gary Whelan, did you say, Mark? Gary Whelan. I remember him I mean, I remember he ended up in the bill as a copper as part of the main cast, not for ages, but he was in it. And he always just turned. I remember it was a family joke that he'd turn up as a copper in various things.
Yeah.
What I remember from specifically, he was the copper who investigated the death of Terry's wife Sue in Brookside when there was a whodunit where there was three possible suspects that day, and they were all just wearing white t-shirt and jeans. So when she fell off scaffolding, I think, and you saw the person who pushed her who was there, and they had white t-shirt and jeans, and he was there. I remember it being a big deal, like who did it. I mean, it's not exactly who shot JR in hindsight.
He pushed you off the scaffolding.
Yes, but he was the man on the scene there. Yeah, Brian Hall. You've obviously mentioned what was his character's name in Fawlty Towers?
Terry.
So
Terry the
plays Terry the cook. He plays at least 3 Terrys in his professional life, and lots of Allens and Rays and stuff like that.
He's got that face, hasn't he?
Yes.
I remember him as an Eddie.
Yes, that was mentioned. Was
So
that the barman in the Jim Davidson thing?
he was in that. I'm not sure he was. Yeah,
He was Brian in that, wasn't he? Was he Brian?
Yeah, it was Brian. I'm thinking of
Big Jim Davidson fans, are we?
I did watch Up the Elephant Around the Castle.
So
no, Home James, not so bothered. But anyway, sorry, I
didn't watch
interrupted
the
you.
follow-up. No.
So do you remember a program called Breaking the Sun?
I've read about it today, but I don't remember it. It looks
so
interesting.
I remember it, and it was fantastic. And that's the other thing I did on Saturday. I didn't watch much of it, but it's on YouTube, and it was a kids' TV program. But I remember he was brilliant in that, and like it was one of those kind of, I don't know, Freudian moments where suddenly you're like, oh my God, I hadn't thought of it for 40 years. And suddenly, and I remember that's the first thing I saw Brian Hall in, I think. It must have been, because it was about 1981, 82, something like that.
So is this a legendary, for people of a certain generation, is this a legendary kids drama?
Well, it seems that Mark don't remember it, looking by the confusion in his face. But it was about a girl who ran away from home, and she goes to Margate and tries to find the sort of woman that brought her up, and he plays the stepdad, like violent stepdad, and it was quite nasty.
Oh, right.
I only watched a little bit of it. He's quite horrible, but I remember being like, when you're like sort of 9 or 10, and I remember it's all suddenly came back to me. And I remember when the first time I saw 40 Towers, and it was like, it's the violent stepdad from Breaking the Sun. But yeah, it was a really good program. It's a girl, do you know Nicola Cowper?
I know the name.
Yeah, so she was the star of it. That played the girl, and won't go into too much details, but she had quite an interesting life as well.
Okay. I'm definitely gonna check. That sounds right up my street.
Yeah,
definitely gonna check that out.
Check it out.
Probably before The Long Goodbye, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah. 6 episodes, but it's definitely well. If you like children's film foundation things, but it's a bit better quality than that.
Okay.
There's one other Gary Whelan part to play that I think warrants a mention. Other than when he was playing policeman, there was one other role he was famous for. Any ideas?
Go on.
He was S Club 7's manager in Miami 7.
I did look that up. I did know.
Wow, that was Linda Regan was in that, wasn't she?
Yes,
I don't remember Linda Regan in it.
Yeah, she was. Yeah, not Linda Regan, Linda Blair. Sorry,
right.
You see what I did there? Linda Blair, who plays Regan in The Exorcist. She's in the S Club.
We are getting. This is a real rabbit hole.
It is. Brian Hall was an East End lad. He had an interest in, drama and performing, but he was a taxi driver before, so he was like a London cabbie for years, and then he went into this line of work. He much preferred the comedy stuff or the lighter stuff, and he even wrote plays. Apparently really well thought of. Him and John Cleese had a load of time for each other.
Yeah, they did, didn't they?
And I think John Cleese was at his funeral because obviously he sadly died really early of cancer. He was I mean, there's nothing lucky about cancer ever, but it sounds like he was particularly unlucky with it. Poor lad. But yeah, extremely well thought of, and also used to perform at Brick Lane Music Hall.
Okay.
But I can't picture where that is. Well, I know
So
Brick
brilliant.
Lane, but yeah, nice one. Cheers, Andy. Thanks for popping in. So, well, he's good. And he's very good, and
I think there's something effortless about his acting, isn't there? He's
Yeah.
just really, really good. And I'm, it's sad he went so early, and sad that he didn't get more good parts,
Yes.
really.
agree.
Bit parts, and playing opposite Jim Davidson couldn't have been the highlight of his
works
career.
work.
It is
So-
work. But yeah, there you go. But he, a lot
So-
of time for him.
And so these lads, we're not the old Bill,
Yeah, we're not, he's doing a
and we're going to take you off to
roll up.
see Bobby Altman.
Yeah, played by anyone? Hello,
George Baker.
Yeah, George Baker.
Hello.
Yeah.
I think everything just slowed down there, and I'm not sure what happened to the feed. Everything went funny. But yes, Mr. George Baker, the fantastic George Baker.
Yes.
And
Is he
this-
fantastic as a hard man?
I think
Do
he
you
is.
buy it?
Brilliant in this. I do. I really buy it. I think he's really good in this. I love that line. It's sort of the line between intelligence and just being absolutely psychotic. He's perfectly rational, and he said, doesn't he? I'm very calm. I've got a low
Yeah.
resting heart rate. That is a reason for my calmness. Do you know what raises my heart rate? Money. Talk of money.
Yeah.
And then talk people stealing money, and he really starts to lose it. And yeah, I think he plays psychotic really well, because I say a lot of the time he's perfectly calm and talking sense. And I think there's an honor about him as well. He doesn't like being turned over, but he sort of plays that honor amongst thieves part quite well.
Yeah, because this is all part of the Long Goodbye as well. There is that character in it, and it's the same thing. He's a fitness fanatic, and he doesn't want to get stressed out.
Right.
So, but yeah, I was convinced. I think he's really good, and I love when he's talking about
He's wearing a great Sergio Tacchini tracksuit, isn't he?
yeah.
A proper thing of beauty. I mean, that would be a fortune now. People pay fortunes for these things.
Yeah.
And Arthur's decked out in it by the end as well, isn't he?
Yeah. He looks fantastic with it when he's.
It's not as good. It's not as good a tracksuit, that one though, is it? Arthur's he's got some straight. He's got like a white and grey and red one, but yeah, George
I thought it
Baker's
looked
is
pretty,
all
pretty
yeah.
stylish.
You bought that, yeah. I'd go for the George Baker's blue. I think it looks good.
Bit of trivia for you. Which George Baker literally starred in a spin-off sitcom from which original series? And it's up there in the pantheon of
He's looking it up.
Well, I'm looking at
spin-offs.
my notes. He did his own series called Bowler, didn't he? Was Bowler a spin-off from something?
It was.
Yeah,
was a-
because
it
that
was a
was written by Esmond and Larby, wasn't it? So
It was a spin-off from Fen Street Gang.
yes.
So they could have gone with, Peter Cleland, Carol Hawkins, living together in a flat, or they could have gone with Frankie Abbott, in the army or something, and they went with this this weird Cockney villain. It's it's like I say, it's up there in the pantheon of weird spin-offs. I don't think it's too bad, but it's maybe not the spin-off that they could have gone with. But yeah, I agree. I think it's a bit of a like when I was growing up, he was on telly as, I forget which detective it was.
Wexford, was it?
Yeah.
Wexford. Who
Yeah,
was
the Ruth Rendell mysteries.
Ruth Rendell.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was, he was of a certain age, and he was obviously just slightly respectable. I'm not saying he didn't have his demons and stuff like that. So to then see him in this kind of role was a bit of a shock. But yeah, I think he pulls it off. And the whole, oh, I'm getting angry. I need to bring my heart rate down stuff.
He's a proper villain, isn't he? Which is good
Yeah.
to see, because I especially have been critical of some of the villains in this series, and he's a proper villain, and he is quite scary, and I think Terry is. Like, Arthur's dismissing him, isn't he? So he basically threatens Terry and Arthur, doesn't he? He says to Terry, like, "I'm going to kill Arthur if I don't get my money back. And he explains that it's bearer bonds, isn't it? That they've got some sort of scam going. And it's basically, he thinks that he's run off with 75 grand. Billy's run off with 75 grand of his money, and he now blaming Arthur, and he thinks Arthur's got it. Or Terry and Arthur have got it. So he's threatening to kill.
He's too Bob, a
He's too
financial
Bob.
midget.
Yes, yeah.
He slightly reminds me of Ian McShane in this. I think Ian McShane could have played this villain quite well as well.
Good show.
A bit younger at the time, obviously, but I think just there's something about that style of a villain. Obviously, we'll see Ian McShane in series 5 or 6, I think,
And we see George Baker again.
and we see George Baker in series 7. Yeah,
And Roy Kinnear.
Yeah.
and Roy Kinnear in
Excellent.
series 7.
And he plays a similar character, George Baker, doesn't he? He plays
I think so. Yeah, I can't remember, but
I'm sure I saw it recently. I'm pretty sure it's yeah.
yeah, crime boss.
2
Similar.
seconds, Sheds, just getting a drink. I'll be 2 seconds.
Okay, I'm gonna be. Have you pressed stop?
For podcasters, we stop for wheeze, we stop for beers. I don't want to stop it because it'll save it as a separate recording, so I'm just going to keep it on.
All right, and so then you can just edit it quickly,
Yeah, it
or we
works.
just leave it all in.
No, just leave it on then. In for a penny, in for a pound. Have we seen? I mean, Andy will know, but have we seen this palatial Hampstead pad before?
Don't
in any episodes?
I don't think so. There was something that I read that it may have been in a Jason King film. Oh, sorry, episode. But I don't think it was in any other Minder episode.
Okay, so
Andy, you ready?
so here. Oh, look at the head. We meet while he's mouthing it off to Terry, saying, you know, this lad came down from Scotland with, you know, a fiver in his pocket and blah blah blah. Have you any awareness of that actor? Who's one
he
of
was
these
in.
heavies?
Yeah, he was in Space 1999.
Yeah, it was.
Which I loved. I loved as a kid, but I have very little recollection of it. I remember loving it, and I remember having the main spaceship as a sort of die-cast toy or whatever. But I can't really remember much about it.
So he was in series 1. He wasn't brought back for series 2, which was a bit of a. He was pissed off about, sort of understandably. But I think the wisdom is that they needed a slight change of energy in the second series going forward.
He's got a very distinctive look, hasn't he? Very, very distinctive.
Yes. In a bit of research before we went live tonight, I spoke to a friend of mine, Andrew, who's involved in various fandom, but he's big into his ITC stuff, Jerry Anderson and Off Anderson and all that kind of stuff. He interviewed him at least once, and they'd gone down on the bus to see him, and it was they were there to interview him about Space 1999. But if you look at his credits, they're insane. Like, he's got loads of credits, and they were talking for hours about everything else before Space 1999. And then it was like, we've got to go. We've got to get our coach back to Leeds or whatever. And they hadn't even touched on Space 1999. So yeah, Prentice Hancock also turns up in the New Avengers in a memorable episode. Apparently he turns up in a 2-parter of Return of the Saint, which is kind of like Return of the Saint, the movie. Did anybody notice his he's sadly recently passed.
Yeah.
Did anybody notice his last TV credit? It's a bit odd, and it feels a bit, inferior now compared to your, Robert Altman musings.
Right.
But he was in a series called Obituary, which is about the death of famous people, and he was in the Patrick Swayze episode, and it sounds a bit, grisly as I'm talking about, but he plays basically a dying Patrick Swayze back at home. Doesn't have any lines, and he's mostly blurred out because obviously they do attempt to be quite respectful and not too sort of exploitative. But yeah, that's him. That was his final role.
I've got it here is Autopsy, The Last Hours.
That's it. The Last Hours of Patrick Swayze.
Yeah, and he plays an older Patrick Swayze.
Well, they're very polite there. What they mean is
dying.
Patrick Swayze, hours from death, basically. So yeah, a curious final entry. I think he packed in, but Yeah.
That's a show
curious.
I've never heard of.
It's
It's one I
literally
wish I hadn't heard of, but
179 episodes.
that's our next
Well,
podcast sorted.
Yeah,
a lot of famous people have died, haven't they? I just suppose, but yeah. Yeah, it
It's
seems a strange premise for a show.
it's very morbid. I mean, it's basically people who are involved or people who knew them to
Mm.
some extent talking about what happened to them when
And
they
then
died.
they
was
recreate their
like-
last few hours. Yeah.
Well, amongst other bits, yeah, there's like reenacted. So you see him collapsing at a party, but that's a younger actor.
Mm.
It's all a bit weird. I fast forward through it earlier to make sure it wasn't, a mischief maker on IMDb, but no, it's all legit. It's all there.
So are we still recording a podcast about?
Yeah, this is all. Yeah. Sorry, we're still going.
I think one thing, there's one great scene in this bit, which we're almost through. There's an initial build up to it, sort of Bobby Altman, as Terry's being taken to his place. He goes, I knew you as a fighter and you were mishandled and you were a mug and now you're a mug again. So he's referencing that thing. I think he does that really nicely. And Terry looks really good on the speedball as well. And then when he sees him watching, he stops and then just gives it a massive right hander and really smacks it into the wall. It's a lovely scene, I think. It's really quite menacing, but on both sides. And there's an admiration there from Bobby Altman to Terry.
Doesn't he mug him off though? Doesn't he then say like "I'd murder you"
I mean,
or something like that?
Yeah,
No,
and
he's-
he said, "I'll
he's-
tell you why, because I would punch holes in you, and I'll tell you why. It's
'cause-
because they'd be holding you down."
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's it. So I remembered half of that. Yeah.
So again, it's slightly respectful in that I can beat you up, but I need to have other people holding you down in order that I can do it.
Yeah. Right. I think we need to move on from this scene.
No. I've got loads more to say about it. Yeah, go on. So, were you going to segue, Mark, into a scene that you didn't think was particularly well?
Only
Shot.
if it's at the right moment. Where are we?
Never the
Well,
right
so
moment.
the next bit would be they're in the car and they're going to see Lady Ingrave, and
Yes.
they park
So
up
it is.
and they knock on the door, and then she answers and the dog barks at them.
Yeah, and then there's a bloke in the background who stops to look, and there's discussion online as to whether he's an extra or just a passerby, but it looks very unnatural. But again, you don't notice it particularly, or I didn't when I watched it
didn't.
first. It's only when
I
you go
didn't.
back and watch it, it is quite weird. But that's not the directing bit. That's coming up in a minute.
But yeah, the dog, she calms the dog down and says, "Is it Beluga?"
Yeah,
What's the
beluga,
dog's
my
name?
favourite caviar.
Yeah, it's my favourite caviar. Like Terry gives him a look, doesn't he, when he says that?
Mm.
And then they go in, and then she gives them the money that I guess that Billy has set aside for him.
Oh, because he mentions earlier, doesn't he? That
Yeah.
he's left it
Got an
somewhere for-
address. Yeah.
that was
Given
it.
half
That
an
was it.
address. Yeah. So
And
they,
so
they-
again, it's sort of Arthur's sort of trying to put on a little bit of charm. He's trying to do almost a little bit of flirting. You can sense
yeah, he does.
it's a not unattractive woman, posh. Arthur's trying to. Terry's not as convinced, but Arthur's he just putting a little
Yeah.
bit of the daily charm on. Then so they get the money and they walk off. Lady Ingrave does thank Terry for taking Billy down to the coast, and so Terry says, "Oh, how did you know?" Because it's like because he phoned me from the hotel, and then Terry goes, "Oh, and how's your husband?" And she's like,
Yeah.
"Not too good, not too
He's
good.
very ill."
Might not make it." Yeah. So and then Terry and Arthur walk off, but as they do, they see Bobby Altman's Rolls Royce coming up the street. And
Yeah.
Arthur does one of his great little sort of, he doesn't say, "Oh my good God," but he gives the impression that he's thinking, "Oh my good God," and scarpers off down the street.
Yeah. Yeah. And so and then they go in to see her. Terry tells Arthur to clear off and he'll stake it out and see who else turns up. And Arthur again runs away, kind of hiding his face, doesn't he?
He runs past the church whilst
Yeah.
it's a lovely detail. The priest's coming out.
Yeah.
He gives it that.
Yeah, and he's hiding his face. It's a lovely little bit, isn't it? And eventually Altman and his leave Lady Graves' flat, and she takes the dog for a walk, and Terry collars her and suggests they go for a drink, doesn't he?
This is the bit I don't like. So this is the bit of directing, because she walks the dog down. Now they've left on fairly amicable terms, Terry and Lady Ingrave, as they went away. Then she's walking the dog down the street, and Terry shouts out, "Walk your dog, Duchess," or something like that, along those lines. "Walk your dog, lady." And she turns round and looks at him and goes, "What do you want?" And as in a really, I thought, it's a bit, it seems quite out of character. But her acting for the rest of it is quite okay. And I'm thinking, but that seems a really bad bit. So I'm putting that down to the director, and he's told her to accentuate the word "you" in this. And it seems really aggressive. And bear in mind, they spoke about 1 minute earlier and it all seemed fairly okay. And why is now, just because he said something to her in the street, is a really aggressive, "What do you want?"
But I think, don't forget, she's just been having conference with Altman, and he's probably been putting the wind up her, isn't he, like he did with Terry? So she's probably a little bit frazzled. So you could, give her.
It just seems out of place. Yeah, it just seems out of place in the flow of the episode.
Do you know what makes me laugh, Mark? The fact that at some point this week, at about 3 a.m, you've been tossing and turning, and this has been really, really bothering you.
Yeah. What do you want?
Just doesn't sit right. It's not good.
While he's waiting for her, I think there's a brilliant shot where he's kind of sat on the steps
Yeah.
with his feet up, and again with my high fluting, wannabe cinema studies head on. It was reminiscent of Travolta, who got a mention in last week's episode, if you remember.
Couple of episodes.
Yes, reminiscent of him on the subway scenes in Saturday Night Fever, when it's all kicked off with his mates, and you just see him basically riding the subways through the night. Again, might not be intentional, just because that film had just come out, really, but just a nice little. I like that they took the time with this stuff. A nice little shot, and I thought that's the bit you were going to pull to pieces, Mark. So I'm glad it was just the Duchess's delivery of the line.
You've watched this too many times.
And that looks like a lovely little area. It looks like a lovely little area for our Minder sort of pub crawl.
Yeah, because it looks like a sort of like a Muse Street in the background, doesn't it? I can't quite work out what it is, but it does look good. I assume it's all still there.
Yeah, there's going to be a good pub down there.
It looks like there's a pub. You can, as you look down, I think there looks like there's a pub down there. We'll have to have a look.
Let's have a chat about that at the end of the episode, gents, in terms of what happens next for us after series 1. Because I think there's some mileage in that. Do you think it's a hotel bar that he takes it to? It doesn't look like a normal bar, or maybe a restaurant bar or something.
Yeah, I was going to ask you where that was, Mark. You've seen it? Any idea?
No, I don't know. It's not referenced anywhere that I could find.
And any idea what they're drinking? What's the green drink?
But it's some form of creme de menthe, I'm assuming. Is it a speedball? Did someone reference speedball? I think the last couple of times I watched it on YouTube and it hasn't got the dialogue for that bit.
The speedball is that. I think you're watching the wrong ones on YouTube,
Yeah, there are better ones.
Yeah, because I've seen some of them where the dialogue drops out.
And the music as well.
Well, I'm assuming it's possibly because of the music, but I mean...
Yeah, it's where they haven't got copyright, isn't it?
But the
self-respecting YouTube pirate gives a shit about that. I don't get it.
That copy, I watched that, and the music is all it's all blurry, isn't it? Unless that's just my ears, but it's not. It's mixed up, so it doesn't sound proper. I don't know. Anyway, yes. So they have a little discussion in the.
Is it a penis colada?
Back to Rupert Holmes.
Yeah. See, I told you, in the galaxy of mind, or the orbit of, it all just comes back together again.
It does.
Which is about to enter the UK chart at number 27 this week.
In real time.
In real time in the UK in the the week of the 28th of January, Rupert Holmes makes his debut on the UK pop charts at number 27 with Escape, the Pina Colada song.
He thought you meant now, and I thought it was because of us giving it a mention on the podcast.
That episode's not out yet.
Yeah, we say what we're going to do next. Maybe we can do a cover version of that.
Yeah, definitely. So Terry's not impressed with his garnish heavy drink, and he says, "Shouldn't it have custard on it?"
Yeah,
Which I think is a good line.
yeah, it is very good.
And then there's a bit of awkward. He kind of slightly apologetically says, "There's no really nice way to say this," but he suggests that her and Billy are having an affair. He says, "You're Billy's mistress," and she says, "Oh, like that's a very old-fashioned way of saying it." So he then says, "Right, well, are you having it off?" or something like that. So it's good. It's an interesting one. Their relationship, it goes from very, and I agree with what you said, Mark, but it's still quite frosty and stuff like that. And it's really well done how from the meeting to this scene and then subsequent scenes in the Winchester, you see them just like warming to each other. There's not for once, he's not trying to get his leg over with her.
Yeah,
But,
there's one moment when I think he might be trying a little bit, but that might default Dennis Waterman.
Yeah, I thought that as well. What you mean later in the Winchester?
Yeah.
I thought that as well. I thought there's a couple of little looks where I think he's thinking, hang on, could be in here.
Yeah. But so she says her husband tried to kill Billy. So that's the premise for him stealing the money so that he can take her away and keep her to the life that she's become accustomed to. Because obviously she's a lady. They live in Kensington in a very nice house with, everything on hand, on tap. And he thinks that stealing £70,000 will be enough to keep her the way that she's become accustomed.
Yeah. So I think I can't remember if it's here or in the Winchester when they talk about it. It's basically that Lord and Lady Wingrave are sort of the front for it, aren't they? And Billy's part of all that. And she's fallen
because apparently he's good at he's good at the chat. I mean, they keep referring him in the episode as like pretty boy.
Yeah.
Now, with all due respect, and obviously he was married to Madeline Smith, so we know he must have been a bit of a good-looking, roguish old soul at some point. But at this stage, when he's, I don't know, in his 40s, I'm not putting him down as a pretty boy. I mean, obviously he's been beaten up in the episode, so maybe that is slightly clouding my judgment. But he doesn't strike me as an obvious. Well, yes, he's a pretty boy.
No, I thought exactly the same. But maybe we'll put that open to our female and female listeners mainly.
yes, Andy.
And anyone else who wants to chip in, but whether they think he's a pretty boy, I don't know. And moving swiftly on.
So he basically tells her he's basically saying you need to fess up because basically me and Arthur are in trouble here. Yeah. And you don't get the impression that she's necessarily that swayed by that suggestion at this point.
Then we get the twist, don't we? The next scene, Billy has not run off and faked his own death. Suddenly he's been pulled out of the water.
Yeah.
And now it's a proper. Has he committed suicide, or is there a bit of foul play at hand here?
Or has he just bollocks the whole thing up, which is also a possibility. I'd forgot it's a while since I've watched this one, and I got a bit of I had a feeling it was coming, so I must have vaguely remembered. But when he's fished out the water, like dead body, like wow, wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, it's a bit of a twist because you assume he's. He has plotted this, and then she's just confirmed that they've plotted it. Obviously, he sowed the seed also earlier with the pills, and that he's on depression, so he might want to commit suicide. So there's been a few things thrown out there as to which way this could go, but I still think it's a little bit of a shock when he is actually a goner.
Yeah.
We're
not used to seeing bodies in dead bodies in Minder, are we?
No, again, and it smacks more of the Sweeney or maybe the Professionals a little bit. It's just had that sort of feel to it. And then we cut to the hospital where Terry has gone to visit Lord Ingrave, which again, slightly, I'm not really sure of the plot reasoning why he'd be going there. But
Well, I
Lady
think
Ingrate is
he
there as well.
I think because he's spoken to her and said that she needs to fess up and didn't necessarily convince her. So I'm guessing he was going to see him to suggest the same thing. I'm guessing.
Are you going to be allowed in to see a lord in a private hospital in his room? There's some
It was
bloke
the
in wearing
1970s.
With a
blue
police guard.
denim. Yeah, with a police guard. You're not going to be let in to see. So I don't know. That bit just didn't sit quite right. It just seemed another excuse for him to meet up with her. And then the policeman turns up as well. Doesn't seem shocked that the two of them are together. Which again,
He does ask,
slightly
doesn't
odd.
he? He says, "What are you doing here?" And he says, and Terry
Yes.
says, "I'm a friend of the family now, apparently."
Mm.
And then the policeman tells them that they found his body, and she's obviously very surprised.
Yes. Yeah.
Because
She and she plays it
something's
quite well,
gone.
I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'd agree.
Deborah Grant, her name is.
You are under no. You have no suspicion that she was like. You don't think, oh, she's putting it on. She's expecting. She is 100% in shock at this news. It's an unexpected development. His bedside manner in breaking such bad news leaves a lot to be desired. So don't do that on NYPD Blue.
Well, no, he announces it as good news, doesn't it? He says, "Well, the good news is
Yeah, they said-
Billy's."
Yeah, he says, "Pardon the pun or something," doesn't he? Like, but you're off the hook. We've
Yeah,
just
yeah.
fished him out of the water. Because he's told him like he went fishing for some Dover sole and he got Billy Gilpin instead. But yeah,
So we see Terry and the Duchess having a little walk outside. She's in shock and she fesses up that the plan was to fake suicide, but he had a friend who was going to pick him up and take him to Normandy, and then another friend who was going to take him to Paris. And Terry gives it the friends. I've got to say, I think I know it's obviously the kind of not the point of the episode, but the whole thing's hinged upon people with friends, and it's the episode of the title. He does again, like he did with the pickled
walnuts.
Pickled walnuts.
Yeah.
He does labour the point somewhat.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, but and then we cut to Arthur
doing a runner with his overnight bag packed, doesn't he? And he gets in the Daimler and he drives off, but he's run off the road by Brian Hall.
Yes.
In the Granada, and they pick him up and take him to see Bobby. And we then sort of cut between Arthur, Bobby, don't we, and the Winchester Club with no Dave in.
Well, that might be why, Dave's not there, which might be the reason why there's a disco LP on in the background in the Winchester, because I'm sure Dave wouldn't stand for that ordinarily.
Is it possible that because there's a phone call, isn't there? He's on the phone, Terry, and he's saying, "Did he who is he talking to? Is it possible that he's talking to Dave?" He said, he didn't leave a message, or is he talking to her indoors? Who's he talking to?
I'd have thought possibly her indoors.
Yeah,
that was my instinct. But the way he's talking doesn't feel like he's talking to Arthur's wife. It feels a bit more matey than that.
Yeah, so
but
I
think it could be. Yeah, it could be Dave.
Could be the suggestion he's talking to Dave. And then so he goes and have another drink with Lady Ingrate, but he runs into the blonde from the opening scene, doesn't he?
Yes.
Runs into Valerie and calls her Jane.
Calls her Jane.
Yes, it doesn't go down very well. And she accuses him of not phoning her. Well, I'd have thought after she stormed out, I thought it was more on on her part to call him. But
be fair, he's had his hands full, and he does say, "I was gonna, but I was really busy," and he means it as well. But he just has to let that one go. He's got too much. He's got too much going on. Not least, he's got the Duchess with him down the Winchester.
Yes,
I think we get a little insight into Leon Griffith's head here, as we have in his other episodes, and there's a bit of a to and fro about, again, friends and the kind of person Billy Gilpin was, and the kind of people who were in the club, and blah blah blah. And I've written in my notes big speech about wrong'uns and thieves and looking for trouble, because it did go on a little while, and that was the best way for me to to summarise it.
I thought it was quite good. I quite liked his little because she sort of said, "Is this the natural habitat of Terry McCann?" Meaning the Winchester. And he points out like a guy at the bar. He's a thief, a very good one, and I quite liked that kind of insight into his
Yeah.
life, it was quite nice. I quite liked it. But yeah, he gives a bit of a speech that he doesn't look for trouble. He doesn't beat people up. And he says about the only person that he's not sure about is nutters. And she said, "Well, you're like, who are them?" And he said, "That's the trouble. You never know who the nutters are." And he said, "You could be a nutter." So I quite like that.
No, it is good, and I suppose it links in with this that you get a sense. It probably wasn't a phrase then, but this like what do they call it? Like sort of poverty voyeurism or sort of petty crime voyeurism. You know, she's looking in and she's on one hand she's kind of taking the mick a little bit, or like you say, is this the habitat of Terry McCann? But she's also a little bit taken with it, and I like the fact that Terry's kind of saying, well, you know, take the piss, pardon me French, all you want, and look down your nose all you want, and glamorize it all you want. But the reality is, you know, this is the world. This was kind of our only option. Whereas she's got options. She's a bloody lady, and she's running around with a tour rag like Billy Gilpin. I think that's part of the point he's making as well.
This is
So
this is what your life would have been.
yeah.
And then
So-
it's a stark contrast to the earlier scene when they're in like the posh hotel bar or whatever it is, and he's a fish out of water in that one, and then she.
I would rather be in the Winchester.
Yes, but
I quite like that.
You like the creme de menthe.
with your
Yes.
custard on it.
Yeah. Lager, please.
Is it? Should we haven't gone down the Deborah Grant rabbit hole yet, have we? The Lady in Grave. So I mean, there's
yeah.
not a huge amount, but
Bergerac,
there's
obviously.
two huge series. So yeah, Bergerac, she was in playing Deborah Bergerac for a number of years, but she's also in a far more modern sitcom. Did you come across that?
That's not the one I was going to cite.
I did, but I can't remember.
She's in Not Going Out. She plays
I don't watch that.
Lucy and Tim's mother. So yeah, so she's been in that for that's probably 8 or 9 series now.
Been
So there's
around
quite
a
a
long
gap
time, hasn't
in her acting career. Yeah.
Yeah.
I watched it and I was like, I recognise her, and I was racking through my head. I was like, was she in Only Fools? But no, that was a few other people, including Rose Mellor. And so I looked on IMDb and I was like, you're gonna know when you see it. You're gonna know it because you really recognise her, and she was an older woman in Bread, and she was a love interest for Jack, played by Victor Maguire, and she moved in over the road.
Right. Yes. Yeah, I do remember that. Yes.
Because it was always the women in Bread. You know, if you remember, there was Roxy, and then there was Julie. There was Carla. I mean, we're going off on a tangent, and Andy will be cursing us, but
No, it's fine.
Carla Lane wrote, I think, really intriguing women parts, and yeah, that's where I knew her from. But it couldn't. I had to look it up. It didn't come back to me magically, which is maybe a sign of age or whatever. But yeah, that's where I've seen her before. And I think she's good in this. I think she's from and like I said, you know, you see her and Terry kind of come into a mutual place. She thaws a bit. Yeah, I think she's very good.
Yeah.
And she
Yeah.
was a lady in real life.
Was she?
Yeah. Yes, she was. She married a sir who was also an actor, but it was a politician as well. So yeah, so she became a lady in real life. So at the time of filming this, she was a lady. Whether that contributed to her getting a part, I don't know.
There you go.
So we then go from Arthur being led into a pokey little cellar by Brian Hall. Arthur's bashed up a bit, which I think is quite shocking for us to see. We're not used to seeing that.
Yeah.
Arthur being
And Bobby Altman doesn't like it either, does he? Bobby's like, I told you, no rough stuff. He's
No violence. Yeah.
Yeah,
he got
yeah.
Lippy
He's
in the
not
mortar.
happy.
Yeah. And he apologises to Arthur as well, doesn't he? I'm sorry about
Yes.
that.
And again,
Yeah.
it's the sort of honour amongst thieves element, which I think is played really well by George Baker in this. Yeah, it's a very nicely written and performed part, I think.
Yeah.
And again, it gets quite menacing. It veers from politeness to menacing quite quickly. Yeah, he doesn't believe Arthur hasn't got the money or doesn't know what's going on, and he's gonna get it out of him by hook or by crook. And he gets him a camp bed and a lilo for the night, and says, "We're starting early in the morning."
Yes.
You know, Arthur's basically being kidnapped here.
Yeah, he has.
Mm.
You know, it's quite heavy stuff. So we see, I think we're made to believe that Arthur flicks his lighter,
Yes.
but then it cleverly turns to it's Terry lighting the Duchess's cig. That's how they do the transition from Arthur flicking his lighter. It's really clever stuff.
Yeah.
And we're back in the Winchester, and it's interesting. It's kind of last knockings at the Winchester. I think there's not really anyone else around at this point. And yes, I've written. It turns out she and Billy were in on the bearer bonds together. I think we've established that at this
Yeah,
point.
we've already established that. Yeah.
Yeah. But effectively, Terry sort of gets her to agree to give the money back. He sort of says, again, it pushes that friends element, and it's saying you really need to give this, otherwise I'm dobbing you into Bobby Altman, that you were in it with Billy, and he'll be after you. So if you don't give the money back, you know, I've got friends too who need saving in this instance.
Yeah. And that friend that
circle.
needs saving is Arthur. So the next morning, they start early, and Bobby tells him to take his clothes off, doesn't he? Which is
He thinks he's
Arthur's-
going to be tortured.
Yes, yeah. I
Nice
mean, this
little reference to the
yeah.
Richardson gang at this point.
Yeah,
Mm.
but this is but this scene's is kind of in the long goodbye as well, and the Bobby Altman character in that is just like, you know, right, take your clothes off. Is like, we're all going to take our clothes off, and they all take their clothes off, and it's a bit bizarre. And one of the it's a spoiler. I should probably let you watch it, but one of the thugs in that film is played by Arnold Schwarzenegger. And so you get to see Schwarzenegger takes his clothes off, and he's all like, you know, clearly he's Schwarzenegger, the bodybuilder. And I think that scene is probably just put in so they could show Schwarzenegger without his clothes on.
Interesting.
But so in Hollywood you get to see that, and we get to see Arthur Daly
In his vest.
his vest and Sergio Tacchini tracksuit that he's got to wear. So they set off to go for a run, don't they?
Yeah, and this is it's
I
a
don't
mix
run.
of comedy gold, but it does turn quite menacing quite quickly. But it's yeah. When I first watched this, I was not convinced by this part of it at all. But now on rewatches, I've come to quite like
Which
it.
bit, Mark?
The whole sort of running him to death. It
Yeah.
seemed a bit of a I don't know, I think I've used the word stretch before, but again, it seemed a little bit of a stretch that you're going to make someone exercise till death. Or they tell you, you know, that was the torture, was that you're just going to run, you know, and obviously he's, you know, he's not a fit man. But he starts off and he's like, oh, this is all right. And then and then a couple of minutes later, he's like, and it's more comedy than menacing, but then it does become quite menacing. It becomes quite, you know, dark at the end.
There's no doubt that from this moment on until the conclusion, it's meant to be dark, it's meant to be menacing, but it's also meant to be funny. And I think it works probably by chance more than, you know, by design. But it's a bit sort of schizophrenic almost. Like, well, are we meant to be laughing, or are we meant to be, you know, worried for Arthur? But we end up kind of having both reactions.
And it's a massive gamble to take, isn't it? Make like to do that on what's a relatively new show, to have a scenes like that, isn't it? Where you do worry, but you are laughing as well. But maybe
Yeah.
it's because we know the characters that you find it funny. Maybe if you didn't know Arthur Daly, you would just find it menacing rather than funny. But
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely funny, especially
And it's meant to be, isn't it?
yeah, it is, and it's very well done, I think, because he is believably menacing, but it's also believably funny.
It was-
And we've got a big, I said we've
Got
got
a
a
big
big
what?
stunt as well. We've got a big car crash as
Yes.
Terry, Terry's found Arthur's car, Jag, parked up with the keys in it. It seems has been left overnight. He's gone looking for Arthur, and he's found his car. Realised he's in a bit of shtuck here, and he goes off to Bobby Altman's house to confront him. And as he's speeding along in a sort of quick car scene, Brian Hall is in another car, and they go, what did I say? Is it? It's
Run him off the road. It's McCann.
Yeah, before so it's a lovely it's bleeding McCann, and then it's, as he drives past, and then they right, we're going for him, and they get the foot on the accelerator. Terry sort of spots him in the mirror, and he puts his seatbelt in. So he wasn't requirement to wear a seatbelt at that stage. So he puts his seatbelt on, and as they try and run him off the road, he slams the brakes on, and they career down a hill. Which again, on first watch, I thought it looked a bit implausible. On rewatches, I quite like that scene now. But when I first watched it, I wasn't as sure.
And did you notice the fact that Terry manages to drive two different cars in this scene as well?
I did, and I saw that
changes.
first time I watched it as well. And that's obviously only because we know what the number plate is, because we're...
Well, it's not even the number... Well, it's not just the number plate, it's a different car.
Yeah.
It's a different model. It's not even, it's a Capri, but it's a different model Capri. It's completely different. And one bit of it as well, where they show he driving around a corner, and it's clearly not Dennis Waterman driving. It's obviously a stuntman, which is fair enough, but it's not very well disguised. Yeah, but they switched the car, and I think I read somewhere that when that thing with the Granada happens, he hits the curb really hard at an angle, and it possibly damaged the car.
Right.
And then maybe they've switched it to another one off to do other bits because it's...
And they'll have been on a schedule.
Yeah.
They'll have had to just get it done, so they'd be hoping people wouldn't notice. To be fair, I didn't notice, but you both did. So...
Yeah, no, I did. I mean, I obviously read about it later, but I did actually notice that.
I only noticed that's not the sort of thing I would normally notice, but it's only because I've been paying attention to Terry's cars.
Because
rewatching this, I'm looking
one
at
of them.
That's a different number plate, and then it's no, it's the real number plate, and then it's a different.
Yeah, because
one
one of them is the opening scene car, and one of them's a different one, isn't it? It's a different registration. Yeah.
Do you have any observations about the music whilst Terry's sort of making his way there? Did it bring to mind anything?
Only that the overall music in this episode is again similar. It's like the incidental music that we get in episode 1, and there's small elements in the rest of series 1, but not really. There's a lot in this episode, and there's quite a lot.
More than any other episode, I would say.
Yeah, it's definitely almost been scored this episode, isn't it? Rather than just... There's a lot of different sort of music going on.
It's very Jaws-esque as Terry makes his way to rescue Arthur, or to look at it another way, to come and get Bobby Altman. There's a lot of sort of it's definitely reminiscent of Jaws. Again, might be accidental, but there's another bit where they're running. You see them running through trees, and the camera's on like the other side, also behind some trees. It's a bit weird. It's almost like they're being watched. I mean, they're not, but I think it adds to that unease, and it adds to this sense that Terry is coming to get you, and they're going to rue the day that they mess with McCann. Sure enough, they do. I think that stunt where the car veers off the road, that won't have been they'll have had one go. They'll have had to get that right once, and I think they do it pretty well. So that happens, and then I'm assuming clocks all this. Can't remember what happens at this point.
No, I don't think he sees the car accident. I think Arthur collapses, doesn't he? And he's telling him that, hello, have we lost Mark?
No,
there he is.
Just a power cut and back.
There you go.
3, 2, 1, you're back in the room. Right.
Yeah, and so Arthur collapses, and he's basically saying to him that, that because of his age, and they think he's just gone overdone it out exercising, and that's how he's going to die. And then Terry appears and just chucks the money at his feet, doesn't he? And he goes through the bag and realizes the money's all there. And then I think you've had, Mark, in a few episodes where you've wanted Terry to punch certain people, and he does this week, doesn't he? And he gives him a good right hander.
Yeah.
And whacks him, gives him a good old whack, which is good. I mean, it's not a fight, so we can't Caesar Palace or Caesar Salad it really, but it's a good It's a good punch.
But he takes it well, doesn't he? He's not looking for revenge. He's not looking for Terry to be hit as a result of him being knocked Sparko to the ground. He's sort of, oh, well, fair enough. I probably deserve that.
Yeah, no, because
Which, again, when I first watched it, I wasn't sure that was the reaction we were going to get. But
Well,
then he's a psychotic character, isn't he? You're never sure which way he's going to go.
And
So
also-
it does make
Comes
sense.
back to Terry's argument. You can never tell with the nutters.
nutters.
Yeah,
And I think also because one of his heavies comes running over, doesn't he? And he goes, "Leave it, Stuart. It'll slaughter you," didn't he?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and I think in his mind he doesn't know Terry, does he? He's seen he's a boxer, and he thinks if he really wanted to, he could really do me some serious damage. So he's going to be like, "Well, we'll leave it there. I've got my money."
And he's got his
He's
70
got
grand.
money, and
Exactly.
we'll leave it there. And that's
Yeah, but it does look worried with that scene where Arthur's lying face down in the ground. He looks, and it's sort of, you could see that's really upset Terry. So he properly gives him a dig.
yeah, because because Arthur's going, "I'm gonna, he's gonna, the watch, Terry, the watch.
Yeah.
You have the watch." It's like, look after her indoors. Don't tell her
Don't
too
tell her
much.
too much. I found it, maybe I'm a bit wobbly at the minute. I found it a moving scene, actually. Waltman doesn't do a lot, but you're totally right. He communicates to you that he's really upset and disgusted by what this man's done to his friend.
Yeah.
Hence his reaction.
Yeah.
And then there's lots of, "Come on, mate, you'll be all right," and he picks him up. Like I say, I'm a bit wobbly. Not often Minder, nearly moves me to tears, but this was a rare exception.
Yeah, because Arthur says, doesn't he, "Terry, you're a real pal."
Yeah.
At the end, which is quite.
And the theme music comes in during the close as they're walking off. And that's not, you don't see that. I can't remember another time it does happen, but it works quite well. It's sort of like a walking off into the sunshine, isn't it, moment, and the music comes in.
Yeah. Well, I
the music
suppose it's the
kicks in.
end of the series, so maybe it could be, if there was never any more, it's the final episode,
that
isn't
wouldn't-
it? And they've walked off, they're friends, and it's like you're a pal, Terry, and pan out, and the end.
Not a dry eye in the house.
Yeah, can see Pete on my screen there. He's welling up. He's going. The bottom lip's gone. It's gone. Can I have your watch?
Yes. Look after her indoors. Just don't tell her too much. But he also says, "I need the kiss of life."
Yes.
And Terry says, "Well, I'm sorry, Arthur. Have a cigar." And he goes, "Oh." They didn't. I read up tonight. Both of their biographies or autobiographies, and I don't think they knew by this point. When they'd finished filming series 1. I'm not saying this was the final episode filmed. I don't know, but they didn't know if it would be returning for a second at that point.
No. There's an interview in one of your favourite magazines, Pete, Titbits. Apparently it went out at the time that this went out. It's an interview with George Cole, and he talks about it, and he says that that's it.
Always got a copy of Titbits to hand.
Yeah, and he says that he's not. He says, I'm nothing like Arthur Daly, and he says that Dennis Waterman is more like Terry, and he says he likes to drink and he likes going out with the boys, whereas I just like sitting in the corner of a glass of wine. But he said, we become really close friends, and he said, I can't wait to do a second series with him. So they're talking about it at this time. So I'm guessing they were obviously hoping. I guess they didn't know, but I think they were obviously hoping there would be a second series.
I think it's really, maybe for a different episode, but it's really fascinating listening to how they quickly, I think as George Cole or maybe as Dennis Waterman puts it, they circled each other just sort of politely or so for 4 or 5 days. And then after that, something just clicked, and he said they'd come to film or I don't think they did rehearsals necessarily, but they'd turn up for filming one day. He'd look at his script and sort of some notes or edits or line changes that he'd written down, and the other would usually have picked up on the same things. And they started off with separate, like Winnebagos, and then they were just like, well, we need to do our lines together. So they ended up just sharing one.
Yeah.
It's like an unlikely friendship, but it was obviously a magical one on and off screen.
Yeah.
So there we have it, gents.
Yeah.
The end
there
of
you go.
series 1.
I know. How exciting.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we've got to do Hall of Fame, I guess, for this episode. I guess the obvious candidate is George Baker, isn't it? And what do we think?
I'm going definite in.
Ooh, Peter?
I think we've been, we're going to reflect in another episode, but I think we've probably said it was a high bar. We've probably set it too high, and yeah, I'm gonna agree with in as well. And I'm not sure I'm not sure Bobby Altman is a name that is bandied about fandom circles that much.
I don't think so, no.
So I think we've got a job to do in raising his profile. So yeah, I think he goes in.
Yeah, it would be for me too. I think it's a really good. I think it's good because it's different. It's an interesting performance. It's very quite menacing, but still elements of sort of comedy in there as well, which it could be. It depending on which way you can see it, I think. But I think I really enjoy his performance in this.
And we were
Yeah,
10 episodes in, and we only had 3 people in it, so it felt appropriate that. I think he'd have had to made a real mess of it not to get in. I would have been supportive, but I really love the way he plays it. So it's well deserved in my opinion. But I was ready to put someone in. It'd been a long time.
Yeah, but I mean, I'll tell you what we'll do. I mean, we won't go into it. We've already been going on for nearly 2 hours already. And
I've just got started. Buckle
Yeah,
in,
yeah.
baby.
I think the series to me tailed off slightly towards the end, but then come back with a bang. We'll discuss this in our season review, which hopefully we're going to do next week, I think, or coming
Yeah.
up anyway.
All being
But-
well? Yes, all being well.
All being well, yeah. So what about out of 10? Where are we going? The final one?
I'll go first, if that's all right.
Yeah, go on.
I think it's a slightly unusual Minder episode. I think it's a really effective Minder episode. I'm glad they weren't all as dark as this, but I think it works, and I think it hits some. I think we see some great performances, especially from Mr. W as well as others. Yeah, I like it. I'm going for a solid 8.
Okay, shall I go next?
Yeah, you
I
go
think-
next, Dan.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with you. I think it's well acted, well directed. I think I mean, a lot of people say it's not a particularly funny episode, but it does have good little lines. And I think the good thing about the series One of Minder is how different a lot of the episodes are. And I think this one is very different to all the others, and it's really good to see it. And I'm glad in some ways it didn't go down this route, because you would miss out on a lot of the fun to come. But I still think it's really, really, really good. So I'm going to give it a solid 8 as well.
Okay, yeah, I'm not as keen on it as you two. When I first watched it, there was certain elements I really didn't like, but on the more watches, as per usual, I really quite enjoy it, all of it now, and say I think the directing is good. Other than that one little element that annoys me, the acting is really good. I think again, a bit like the pickled walnuts, they're really shoehorning in friends and pals and anything like that into every scene. Virtually, it gets referenced, which is slightly weird. It's an incredibly gritty episode. There's not quite enough laughs in it for me to get it to what I consider top notch Minder, but I will give it a 7, which I think when I first watched it I wouldn't have done, but I will give it a 7.
Okay.
Excellent.
Yeah, I've always liked this one. I think it's a top draw episode. Never had any. And the other thing I think about is it was one I remembered from the time as well. Sometimes they're not overly familiar. Like, I mean, I've seen them all, obviously, but some that you saw a lot back in the day. And I think this
It's
was
one
of
that
those.
wasn't. Yeah, it's one that wasn't typically repeated a lot. It's sort of the ones, there's certain ones you see repeated on all the time, and this is one of those ones you don't feel it's on that much. Obviously now they're on That's TV, they're running them in order on a loop, so you get to see all of them equally. But yeah, when it was on ITV4, they would tend to focus on, say, the earlier series, but I don't ever remember seeing this one being generally repeated.
Oh, okay.
You know what I've enjoyed about this one, like how much there is to unpick in terms of on the screen, in terms of what's going on. No episode's the same, and this is certainly not a typical episode, but it goes to places and it takes us as the viewer to places that we don't often go to with Minder. And I think it made for a really interesting watch, a really good episode, and a really good discussion today.
But yeah, saying like in terms of the cast, there are just so many familiar faces, aren't there? Say, and as plenty of rabbit holes for us to dig into.
Yeah, and yeah, cameos and famous familiar faces. Even if you can't remember where you've seen them all in something.
Yes.
It's enjoyable.
I feel liberated now that we've been given permission to, and we've been urged by people such as Joe, etc., to go down rabbit holes as much as we like.
Yeah.
So we certainly have done that today.
Yes, we certainly have. Do we have any other business, or is that?
No, it's time to go to bed, Andy. Just hold your horses. 2 minutes. So what's next? We're gonna get our heads together and have a season 1 wrap up.
Yeah, and I think what we'll try and do is we'll try and get as many people of listeners and followers and stuff involved. And we'll have to work on some little polls, and we'll see whether people think we've misplaced people in the Hall of Fame or not included people in the Hall of Fame. And obviously, we're not going to take out anyone we put in, but we might add someone or one or two people if people feel strongly enough about it. And we'll go through what we think is the best episode of the series. And
Sounds good.
Anything else you want to do with it? I think that's
that sounds like that. I think that sounds like a fun episode.
I think it'll be good.
So, Mark, I know you've been compiling the marks and stuff like that. So we're gonna need the raw data from you, if that's okay.
Yeah, you have to work on a spreadsheet.
All the stats will be available.
Excellent.
So, in other news, I am compiling location information like nobody's business. I definitely think we need to do a bit of very least a Minder pub crawl. At least one, because there's probably a few we could eke out. So I will get to work on that, and then when we do it, I think we need to let people know that we're going to be out and about, and if they want to come along and join us, that'll be wonderful. We'll get some nice
it would be
photos.
fantastic. Sounds good. Well, thank you very much for listening. We've had a good time today. I hope you have. Hope we haven't kept you up too long.
You asked for this. We delivered.
You asked for it. So, we're available on Twitter and Facebook and TikTok. Pretty much Minder on the Slate or on the Slate Pod or something like that. You'll find us if you look for us. Please join us, and we'll see you next time. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Fantastic. See you soon.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.